My name is Nadine Maenza, and I'm the president of the IARF Secretariat, and also, as you heard, the former chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, or USCIRF. When I was its chair earlier this year, USCIRF recommended that India be listed as a country of particular concern for the third year in a row. I could take a full hour detailing just how dangerous the situation has become for religious minorities, and especially Muslims in India, who make up only 14% of the population in an increasingly Hindu nationalist state. But to summarize, Muslim men face the threat of being publicly beaten and lynched to death by Hindu extremist mobs. Muslim women face sexual harassment and threats of rape. In one state, women are forced to remove their hijabs if they want to go to school, as you just heard. Muslim-owned homes and businesses are bulldozed when they defend themselves from mobs and when they exercise their right to dissent. Mosques are threatened by Hindu extremist groups with arson, vandalism, and demolition. Indian courts often side with the Hindu nationalists in their quest to take over these mosques and convert them into temples by force. And anti-Muslim hate speech has become normalized to the point where calling for violence against Muslims will be met with praise and support from the general public, as well as from members of the Prime Minister Modi's ruling BJP party. This includes ongoing calls for genocide of hundreds of millions of Muslims. All this information was contained in the USCIRF report released in April. And yet, last week, the State Department did not include India on its countries of particular concern. This is disappointing and frankly unacceptable on many counts. USCIRF's current chair, Nura Turkel, stated that, quote, "There is no justification for the State Department's failure to recognize India as an egregious violator of religious freedom, as it clearly meets the legal standards for designation as a CPC." He also said that, quote, "USCIRF is tremendously disappointed that the Secretary of State did not implement our recommendations and recognize the severity of the religious freedom violations that both USCIRF and even the State Department's own report have documented in India." As a strong proponent of democracy, the United States should be leading the international conversation that is beginning to take place surrounding India. Human rights organizations across the globe have been raising alarm bells for years, warning that India is backsliding on the very foundations of democracy. During the United Nations Universal Periodic Review of India in November, several nations, including the U.S., had strong words for the Indian government, urging them to repeal or amend anti-minority legislation, address religious violence, protect civic spaces, and protect vulnerable minorities. Just months ago, UN Special Rapporteur for Minority Rights said that, quote, "Nothing short of an international investigative mechanism, as has been done by the UN Security Council and Human Rights Council for countries such as Syria, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Ethiopia, may be necessary to reverse the trend of violence against minorities in India." I cannot emphasize enough how far past time it is for officials in the State Department and the U.S. government as a whole to stop skirting around the issue of persecution of religious minorities in India. India is our ally, and just as important, it is the world's largest democracy. And the systematic persecution of 200 million religious minorities in a democracy is simply unacceptable. So I'm so glad that you could be here today as we have this conversation with really an esteemed panelist of experts who I'm really looking forward to hearing from myself. So we're going to jump right in with our first speaker, who's going to be Dr. Atar Zia. Is an associate professor of anthropology at the University of Northern Colorado. She's the author of Resisting Disappearances, Military Occupation and Women's Activism in Kashmir, which won the 2020 Gloria Antalgioa, not sure if I got that right, Honorable Mention Award, the 2021 Public Anthropologist Award, the Advocate of the Year Award 2021, and the 2021 Rosaldo Book Prize, Honorable Mention. She's the founder-editor of Kashmir Lit and has been co-founder of Critical Kashmir Studies Collective, an interdisciplinary network of scholars working on the Kashmir region.